Hello from the Dukascopy TV studio in Geneva. We are talking about startups in China and in Switzerland and how to connect these two ecosystems together with Mr. Philippe Monnier. He is International Business Executive, and Mr. Benjamin Zhai. He is founder of CreaPark. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Mr. Monnier, so let's start with scholars and foreign students who come to Switzerland from China and other countries and are subsidized by Swiss taxpayers. So what's the benefit of this for Switzerland?
I think the benefit is very important. It is not measurable in a precise manner, but it is still very important. Because all those brilliant people, when they go back to their countries, they become real ambassadors of Switzerland. And for Switzerland to have a network of people who know Switzerland well, who are emotionally connected to Switzerland, it's on a long-term basis of enormous advantage.
And one example is Mr. Benjamin Zhai. You are a graduate at the EPFL in Lausanne, and now you have started your own company and venture. It's called CreaPark. So what is CreaPark about? What are your objectives and activities?
So CreaPark was started by 7 EPFL graduate students. We are all active in the Swiss startup ecosystem. We either have our own startups or have participated in other startups. And being familiar with startup ecosystems in Switzerland and China, we have seen that there are huge opportunities in bringing these two together so that we can help Swiss startups match with Chinese capital and market to create value in these companies.
So when you bring startups to the Chinese markets, one question of course comes up: how is the Chinese market attractive compared to European and Northern American markets, for example, for startups?
So the Chinese market is very attractive. The GDP per capita in China is about 1/3 to 1/4 of that of Europe or US. Which makes them have very high purchasing powers compared to other emerging markets. The total volume of customers in the market is 10 times in China. In China is 10 times that of Switzerland, Germany, and France combined. And the upper middle class is booming in China, meaning people have more willingness to buy high quality products at a higher price point, rather than searching for the cheapest product, which is a huge opportunity for Swiss technology startups.
And how is the situation when it comes to venture capital firms in China as to the United States, for example?
The venture capital in China is very active at the moment. The total amount invested by venture capitalists in China in 2015 is about on the same level as in Silicon Valley, which was only half in 2014, meaning it was growing at fantastic speeds.
Benjamin, when Swiss startups want to go into the Chinese market, they need to have partners to enter the market. So how does such an accompaniment look like, and what does CreaPark offer in this regard?
So we basically connect Swiss startups with Chinese venture capitalists who would in turn provide them with the resources that they have. So they could have partners, distributors, or customers, which investors have the connections. They would bring those resources into the Swiss startup and help this startup grow, which is very important. For example, take Uber as an example. Uber in China, with the help of local investors, they have gained a speed of growth which is 500 times in Chengdu than that in New York, which is very impressive.
And so there is a concern when it comes to innovation, bringing innovation to China, also from the startups, that is concerning the intellectual property. So what is the current situation of intellectual property laws when it comes to investing in China and going there as a startup?
The problem regarding intellectual property law comes up very often because 10 years ago the situation was pretty bad in China, but it's improving extremely fast. And I would say in 5 years, the IP situation in China would be on par as the IP situation in Switzerland, Europe, or US.
So that means that startups even going to China now don't have to have special precautions or caution to go there?
I don't think it would pose a huge concern compared to the profit that the startup could gain in China. Of course, precautions should be taken in terms of trying to grab a larger market. So in terms of moving faster, you can protect your IP situation. In terms of developing faster, you can also increase your IP barriers. I think these are very important. But overall, I don't think it's a concern for Chinese startups. During the event, we would also invite Bela Bischoff, who is a patent examiner from Swiss intellectual property IPI.
And the event that you are referring to is the Tech in Swiss event that is going to happen on September the 5th, 2015 in Lausanne at the EPFL. So we will go touch this in a minute. So maybe my last question, when it comes to go into the Chinese market, there are also different cultures, mentalities. So what are the main differences between a typical Swiss startup and a Chinese startup, and how could the two mentalities work together?
I think that's very interesting. The mentalities are obviously very different, and in order for a Swiss company to success in the Chinese market, we need to match up these mentalities. The Swiss mentality is very precise and digs deep into the technology aspects of a startup, while a company in China typically moves faster and tries to tackle the problem from the market side. And I think it's very important that investors and startups from both countries understand the differences in these mentalities and work together to reap the benefits from the positives of each mentality.
When you were looking for funding for your own startup, what were investors asking you instead in China instead of in Switzerland?
When I was asking for fundings in China, actually, it was very interesting because in Switzerland, I have done my education of entrepreneurship in Switzerland. So I've done all the forecasts, everything according to the Swiss mentalities. Swiss investors are pretty happy. But when I brought the same figures to China, the first question that was asked to me was, why are you making a profit? Which came really at a shock. It's really shocking because profitability is something that you think about here in Switzerland, but in China it's completely different. They don't care about profitability, and they care about rate of growth. So they try to grab a huge chunk of the market first, and then to find a point where you can get profitable. So I think this is of course very interesting, and I think it's something that all startups should think about.
Mm-hmm. So this is something that is just a different investor horizon that startups should be aware of. So Philippe, so the event Tech in Swiss is to contribute to these business relations between China and Switzerland, especially from the point of view of startups. So in which way should the event contribute, and will the first event contribute that is going to happen the 5th of September?
I think generally all those students from different countries like China who stay in Switzerland can be an excellent bridge between Switzerland and foreign country. And this is an example. Thanks to those Chinese people in Switzerland who study at EPFL, it's possible to bring very high caliber VC. Without them, it would not be possible. So it will be good for the Chinese VC, but of course it will be very good for the Swiss startup interested in the Chinese market. So this is the main benefit of the event.
Mm-hmm. And how can interested find out more about the event?
In the website CreaPark.org, there is a special information about this event.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to happen the 5th of September in Lausanne at the EPFL Rolex Learning Center. Thank you very much, Mr. Philippe Monnier and Benjamin Zhai, for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching. Do make sure to keep clicking back on the Dukascopy TV website for latest updates and exclusive interviews. Have a great day and see you next time.